Thanks for joining me in Module 1. This module is all about perspective and the tool perspective. Now, perspective can be a tricky word, and the context in which I'm using it is in the context of choice. I oftentimes think we're so busy, we're so inundated with work and family and emails and texts that we're in reaction mode, where we're just overwhelmed. And we don't allow ourselves the space to choose how we respond to things, we just react to them. So when I'm talking about the tool of perspective, that's what I mean. I'm talking about choice and allowing ourselves the space to choose. SEAL training, it's hard. It lasts a little over 6 months, and that's if you don't quit, or you don't get dropped, or you don't get injured and medically rolled back. And by far and away, the vast majority of people quit. During that time, you'll run in boots with pants on the sand, on the beach, a little over 2,000 kilometers. Now in the Australian context, that's like running from Augusta all the way to Port Hedland along the coast. And you'll swim in the open ocean a little over 240 kilometers. And that's like swimming from the Port of Melbourne out to King Island in Tasmania. So it's long and it's arduous. And Hell Week is infamous. And that's that period of time that if you watch the introduction that my drummer John told us about, when he said to me, "Hey Chandler, did you know that Navy SEALs have to stay awake for 5 days and nights straight?" And that period of time lasts from Sunday all the way to the following Friday, and you're kept in constant activity the whole time. You eat 4 times a day, and you've always got a canteen of water by your side to stay hydrated. But you're constantly wet, and you're constantly cold. And the only time that you get to rest is if you win a race against the other boat crews that are in Hell Week with you. And then as soon as that next race is over, you're right back into it. Now our tactic, if we won a race, was we'd put that boat down and we'd sit next to it and we'd wrap our arms and our legs around the person in front, and you'd lean up and put your chest on their back so you could share a little bit of that body warmth, because you were always wet and you were always cold. And the aversion to cold is so strong that the last thing that anybody wants to do when they've got that little bit of a break and they're feeling that little bit of comfort from the body heat from your boat crewmates is to leave it for a toilet break. Can you see where this is headed? So there was a protocol to it. So you tap the guy's shoulder in front of you and you say, "Hey, dude, I got a wee." To which the inevitable reply was, "Just do it." And it was warm for a little bit. And this may sound disgusting to you, but what a great lesson in the tool of perspective. Something that in other circumstances be considered unacceptable, unhygienic, probably even illegal in some places. It's no big deal. I'd like to show you a video from training, and as you watch it, I want you to look for opportunities where using the tool of perspective, allowing yourself the space to choose how you're going to think about a given evolution, would be useful. I wonder if you identified any opportunities where using the tool perspective, allowing yourself the space to choose how you're going to react to one of those evolutions would have been useful. I have a couple of questions that I want you to think about. And the first one is, if SEAL training is known to be one of the toughest military training programs in the world, and with attrition rates of 68%, I think when I started with my class, we had about 130 people. And when we graduated, we had only about 20 of those originals left. So if it's known to be an extremely demanding and tough program, why do you think some people come only to quit? And I have another question that on reflection falls on from that. And that question is, how come if you line everybody up on day one of training, no one can tell? Not even the instructors who've been there running class after class through the program. No one can tell who's going to quit and who's going to stick it out. If I had to articulate the difference, I'd have to say it was the ability to employ the tool perspective. If you could muster enough perspective, enough space to choose how you're going to respond to a given situation, right? You could face that pain and that cold and that uncertainty for a minute. And as you face it for a minute, that minute would turn into an hour, and that hour into something else. Now, that's not to say that in order to cultivate the tool perspective, you got to lean on each other to stay warm. However, I do believe that there'll be times in your life where you face extreme physical, but more likely emotional pain. Maybe you've been there. And if not, it's coming. As you face it, if you employ the tool of perspective where you allow yourself the space to choose how you're going to respond to it. And when you respond, you choose a response that's beneficial to you. That is what I think will help you get past it. If you want to explore the concept of perspective in more detail, download the workbook and complete the activities. And after you finish, if you'd like to discuss the results with someone, by all means, book a session with me or any one of the coaches in the program on our booking portal. Now, if you're paying for this yourself and the cost of getting a coaching session is prohibitive, I understand completely. So keep your eyes open on the website and on any of our social media to find out when our next webinar is, where we'll discuss perspective or any of the other topics that we cover in our online modules. I hope this present moment finds you well, and I look forward to seeing you in Module 2.